Ever since Wii Sports gave Nintendo fans a taste of boxing, gamers have been eagerly awaiting the return of Punch-Out! Now, 15 years after Super Punch-Out! On the Super Nintendo, the series has finally made its way to the current generation, bringing Little Mac to the Wii. Does the classic gameplay hold up, or does it end up face down on the mat? Punch-Out! Is really more of a remake than a sequel. The gameplay isn't that changed from the past versions, and still relies on pattern recognition more than athletic skill. Before attacking, opponents all have some sort of tell, hinting at their next swing, which can be dodged and countered. Countering opponents' swings earns Little Mac a star, of which he can have 3 at any time. These stars can be unleashed for a powerful attack, but are lost once Little Mac is hit. There's also an endurance meter that replenishes when Mac hits and diminishes when he misses, eventually tiring him out entirely. All of this likely sounds familiar to fans of the original because, in all honesty, nothing is different. The core mechanics are essentially identical. Changing it up a bit is the option to play with the Wii's motion controls, which are surprisingly accurate. It helps that they're not really that complex. It's also possible to use the Wii balance board to control dodging, but it's not nearly as sensitive as it needs to be for later matches. Either way, most will likely find their comfort zone lies in using the traditional setup, turning the controller sideways and emulating the NES experience. Career Mode tasks Little Mac with fighting his way through a gauntlet of enemies towards the WVBA Championship. In his way are a strange assortment of characters, most of which appeared in the original title. Fans should be happy to know that favorites such as Glass Joe and Soda Popinski return, while a few characters from the game's sequel, Super Punch-Out!, also make appearances. Unfortunately, only 2 new characters have been added to the game, and it seems like it shouldn't have been too much trouble to find a few more to flesh out the game's somewhat weak roster. In Career Mode, the later enemies can become increasingly difficult, requiring near-perfect timing to knock out. For the most part, Punch-Out! Adheres to the rules, but will occasionally break form. At times, Little Mac will be knocked out for seemingly no reason, even when he's only dropped one of the allotted 3 times. While it's technically called Career, the mode is more or less an arcade mode, since there's no real story or narrative. Beyond that, players can also play Exhibition Mode, which opens up any of the game's opponents to friendly battles. Each is given 3 challenges to complete, giving an excuse to go back and play after finishing the initial run. After becoming the champion, a new game plus of sorts is also unlocked, in which Little Mac needs to battle his opponents a second time, some of which have a few new tricks up their sleeves. The second time around, the opponents can be pretty tough, and require more than good timing to take down. Punch-Out's multiplayer is a strictly offline affair. 2 players can combat each other in the square circle, both playing Little Mac, and both pulling from the same set of moves. After enough counters are performed, it's possible to transform into Giga Mac, a powerful but slow opponent. This change shifts the camera angle and turns the multiplayer battle into a more traditional fight. It's a shame that the rest of the characters are left out of the mode, especially since the Giga Mac battles so closely emulate the traditional Punch-Out! Fights, leaving the multiplayer feeling far from feature complete. Compared to the many other boxing games on the system, Punch-Out! Stands tall. Each boxer is introduced with an assortment of still images, giving a little more depth to the game's many racial stereotypes, and the game's occasional cutscenes show Little Mac training, a sight that should spark nostalgia in just about any gamer. Once in the ring, character animations are fantastic, and the graphics show off the Wii's strength when it comes to delivering a stylized presentation. It's exaggerated a good bit, with characters taunting Mac in their native language,
Les mains me font mal, les gants de boxe sont trop serrés,
birds fluttering above stunned opponents' heads, and comical damage modeling. But it never loses the Punch-Out! Feel that so many gamers truly love. The classic approach is even more appropriate thanks to the game's soundtrack, which features remixes of the classic tunes. While it would have been nice to throw in a few more videos to give the career mode more of a story, the game is one of the most polished experiences on the Wii, and should serve as another example of how to present games visually on a graphically inferior console. For fans of Punch-Out!, the choice is clear. There aren't many surprises, but Nintendo has given fans exactly what they wanted. No more, no less. More of a remake than a true sequel, Punch-Out! Is a worthy purchase for any Wii owner, if not for the nostalgia it will likely induce in anyone over the age of 16. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the full text review on Gamervision.com.